Some recordings are never meant to be heard by the public. They remain locked away because the people who made them never expected anyone else to listen. In the final weeks of Michael Jackson's life, one such recording captured a deeply personal moment, one that would later become one of the most haunting pieces of evidence in one of the most publicized legal cases in entertainment history. When that recording finally surfaced, it challenged many of the assumptions people had about his final days and revealed a side of Michael that few had ever witnessed. On May 10, 2009, Dr. Conrad Murray quietly activated the voice recorder on his iPhone while Michael Jackson rested nearby. According to later testimony, Michael had no idea he was being recorded. The singer, famous for protecting every aspect of his private life, unknowingly revealed his thoughts while heavily affected by medication. The voice captured on the recording barely resembles the energetic performer millions of fans knew. His speech is slow, slurred, and interrupted by long pauses, suggesting someone struggling to remain conscious. Yet beneath the effects of the medication, one theme remains crystal clear. Michael repeatedly returns to the vision he had for his upcoming concerts. He speaks passionately about wanting his performances to be unlike anything audiences had ever experienced before. His goal wasn't simply to entertain people for a few hours. He wanted every person leaving the arena to feel they had witnessed something unforgettable, something beyond what any other artist had achieved. During the recording, Michael mentions legendary performers like Elvis Presley and the Beatles, explaining that he wanted to create a production that would stand apart even among the greatest concerts in history. But what he says next reveals that the performances themselves were never his ultimate goal. He explains that the money earned from the concerts would allow him to build what he described as the largest children's hospital in the world. His voice grows emotional as he talks about children, explaining that he understood their pain because he felt he had never truly experienced a childhood himself. "I love them because I didn't have a childhood," he says. Those words became some of the most heartbreaking moments ever heard from Michael Jackson. Rather than speaking as a global superstar, he sounded like someone carrying emotional wounds that had never completely healed. He continues by referring to songs like Heal the World, We Are the World, and Will You Be There, explaining that those songs were born from his own pain and compassion. "I hurt," he quietly admits. When prosecutors played the recording during Conrad Murray's 2011 trial, the courtroom reportedly fell silent. Jurors listened without interruption as Michael's fragile voice echoed through the room. Many people who had known him personally struggled to hide their emotions. The prosecution didn't need dramatic arguments during that moment. Michael's own words became one of the most powerful pieces of evidence presented during the trial. For many people, that recording became the closest thing to hearing Michael Jackson describe his own final weeks. It revealed someone exhausted but still dreaming, someone deeply vulnerable, someone determined to keep going despite overwhelming personal struggles. Only 45 days after that recording was made, Michael walked into the Staples Center in Los Angeles for what would become his final rehearsal. No one inside the arena realized they were witnessing history. June 24, 2009, began like countless rehearsal days before it. Michael arrived during the early evening as preparations continued for the massive This Is It concert series planned for London's O2 Arena. Crew members had become accustomed to his unusual routine. He often spent hours quietly observing rehearsals before stepping onto the stage himself. For weeks, however, everyone around him had been deeply concerned. Behind the scenes, Michael's health appeared increasingly fragile. Members of the production had reportedly seen him wrapped in blankets despite warm temperatures. Some recalled moments when he seemed weak, confused, or unable to focus. Others worried about his noticeable weight loss and constant exhaustion. Among those most concerned was director Kenny Ortega. Ortega had worked closely with Michael throughout the rehearsals and watched him experience dramatic changes from day to day. At times, he feared the pressure surrounding the comeback concerts was taking a devastating toll. Yet something remarkable happened during the final rehearsal. The frail man many had worried about seemed to disappear. Once the music began, Michael transformed. As rehearsals moved into Earth Song, he displayed an energy that surprised even the dancers who had spent weeks working alongside him. Standing before enormous visual projections showing environmental destruction and hope for renewal, Michael moved with confidence and emotion that reminded everyone why he remained one of the greatest performers in history. Crew members later recalled watching him perform with renewed strength, almost as if the stage itself restored him. The change was so dramatic that many believed he had finally turned a corner. He also rehearsed Thriller, refusing to lower the song's demanding vocal key despite the physical challenges that naturally came with age. Even after nearly 3 decades, he continued pushing himself to meet the same standards he had established during his younger years. Every movement carried the precision audiences expected. Every spin, every pose, every carefully timed step reflected decades of dedication to perfection. The surviving rehearsal footage would later become the foundation of the documentary film This Is It, released only months after his death. The film became an enormous worldwide success, earning hundreds of millions of dollars while allowing fans one final opportunity to witness Michael doing what he loved most. Watching those performances became bittersweet. Audiences weren't simply watching rehearsal footage. They were watching the final images of one of music's greatest entertainers. By the end of the evening, Michael reportedly appeared optimistic. Those who interacted with him said he seemed pleased with the progress being made and looked forward to continuing preparations for the London concerts. Shortly after midnight, he returned to the rented mansion on North Carrollwood Drive in Holmby Hills. He had spent hours rehearsing. He had spoken excitedly about the future. He had every reason to believe another rehearsal awaited him the following day. But there was one obstacle he still couldn't overcome: sleep. For years, insomnia had become one of Michael Jackson's greatest personal battles. While millions imagined that fame and success brought comfort, his nights were often consumed by frustration and exhaustion. Falling asleep naturally had become nearly impossible. As he climbed the stairs toward his bedroom in the early hours of June 25th, he wasn't simply preparing for another night's rest. He was entering another exhausting struggle that had haunted him for years. Inside that bedroom waited a routine unlike anything found in a normal home. Medical equipment, intravenous lines, powerful sedatives, and a physician who would soon make decisions that would forever change the course of music history. What happened during the hours that followed would later become the center of a criminal investigation, a worldwide media storm, and a trial that continues to spark debate more than a decade later. End of part 1. When Michael Jackson entered his bedroom after the final rehearsal, he wasn't searching for luxury or comfort. He was searching for something far more basic: sleep. For years, insomnia had become one of the greatest obstacles in his life, turning every night into a battle he rarely won. The excitement of the successful rehearsal could not erase the exhaustion that had accumulated over months of preparation for the demanding This Is It concerts. According to Dr. Conrad Murray's later statements to investigators, Michael's nighttime routine began shortly after 1:30 a.m. The doctor said he first administered a Valium tablet while connecting Michael to an intravenous saline drip. When that failed to help him sleep, Murray reportedly gave him lorazepam through the 4. Still, Michael remained awake. Time continued to pass as the hours slipped toward dawn. Murray later claimed he administered another sedative, midazolam, hoping it would finally bring relief. Michael briefly appeared to drift off, but only for a matter of minutes before waking again. The cycle continued throughout the night. As each medication failed to produce lasting sleep, Michael reportedly grew increasingly desperate. He wasn't asking for drugs because he wanted to escape reality. According to Murray's account, he simply wanted enough rest to perform the concerts that thousands of fans were waiting to see. He reportedly pleaded with the doctor, explaining that he had rehearsals to attend and shows to prepare for in London. Without sleep, he feared he would not be able to perform at the level expected of him. Eventually, according to Murray, he agreed to administer propofol. Unlike ordinary sleeping medication, propofol is a powerful anesthetic generally reserved for surgical procedures in hospitals. Patients receiving it are normally connected to specialized monitoring equipment, while trained medical professionals carefully observe their breathing and heart function. Michael's bedroom offered none of those safeguards. According to court testimony, the drug was administered in a private residence without the equipment normally required for its safe use. Murray later told investigators that Michael finally appeared to fall asleep. Believing his patient was resting, he claimed he briefly left the bedside. That decision would later become one of the most closely examined moments in the entire investigation. When he returned, Murray said Michael was no longer breathing. What happened during the next several minutes became one of the central issues during the criminal trial. Instead of immediately calling emergency services, prosecutors argued that valuable time was lost before outside help was summoned. Security guard Alberto Alvarez later testified that he entered the bedroom after being called upstairs and found Michael lying motionless while Murray attempted cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Alvarez also described details that raised serious questions during the trial. He testified that chest compressions were being performed while Michael remained on the bed rather than on a firm surface, something emergency responders later noted was not standard procedure. More troubling was Alvarez's testimony that, before directing anyone to call 911, Murray allegedly asked him to gather medication bottles and place them into bags. According to Alvarez, additional medical supplies were also collected before emergency services were contacted. Those claims became a major focus for prosecutors, who argued that the delay may have reduced any remaining chance of saving Michael's life. Eventually, a 911 call was placed. The recording captures the growing urgency inside the mansion as the caller reports that a man is not breathing. The dispatcher calmly provides instructions for CPR, urging those present to move the patient onto the floor where compressions would be more effective. Within minutes, paramedics arrived at the residence. They immediately began advanced life-saving efforts, but they were working with limited information. According to testimony presented during the trial, Murray did not initially tell emergency personnel that propofol had been administered, leaving responders unaware of a critical piece of Michael's medical condition.